Let's go ahead and solve customers who never order. In this problem, we're given two tables, the first one being the customer table, which has the columns ID and name, and the second table, which is the orders table, which has the columns ID and customer ID. And in this problem, what we need to do is we need to return the names of all the customers who have never ordered. And if we take a look at example 1, we have these two tables, the customers table and the orders table. So in the customers table, Joe has an ID of 1, Henry has an ID of 2, Sam has an ID of 3, and Max has an ID of 4. And our orders table basically documents all the IDs or the customer IDs of customers who have ordered so far. So in the orders table, the customer ID column actually corresponds to the ID column in the customers table. And for example, a customer ID of 3 corresponds to an ID of 3, which then corresponds to a name of Sam. And so in other words, the orders table is telling us that Sam has ordered before. Similarly, a customer ID of 1 in the orders table corresponds to Joe in the customers table, and in other words, Joe has ordered before. So the two people in this table who have not ordered yet are Henry and Max, and in the output, that's exactly what we return. So now let's go ahead and solve this. The first thing we need to consider is what we need to return in our query. In our output, we're returning the names of customers who haven't ordered, so we're returning the names. And so that's exactly what we're going to return, or that's exactly what we're going to select. So we're going to select the name column from the customers table. Now, before we continue, let's address some things. The first thing is that in the output, the name column is actually displayed as customers. So we need to just display the name column as customers in our output. And to do that, we're going to use the alias function, so as, and we're going to call it customers. Now, the second thing I want to do is, for the sake of convenience, let's name the customers table C for customers. And since we're using multiple tables, or we're going to use multiple tables, we need to address where we're getting the name column from more specifically. And since we named our customers table C, all we need to do is select C.name as customers from customers C. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because now what we want to do is we want to basically combine these two tables together. And in SQL, the way we combine tables together is through the join function. And now you may be asking, well, okay, what join function do we use? Do we use the inner join? Do we use the left join, right join, or full outer join? One thing's for sure, and that's we can't use the inner join, because to actually answer this problem, as you'll see in a bit, we're going to rely on values that are null. And when we use the inner join function, our combined tables do not return null values. So now would be a good time to tackle how we're going to solve this problem. Like I said, we're going to combine these two tables together. And in SQL, when you want to combine two tables together, you need to ask under what condition are you combining them. A lot of times in SQL, tables will have a similar column, and you normally relate these two columns together to join the tables, and that would be the condition. But here we don't exactly have the same column, but really we kind of do, because the ID column is the same as the customer ID column. And so that's the exact condition we're going to use to combine these two tables. So we're going to join them under the condition that the customer ID column in the orders table is equal to the ID column in the customers table. And in this example, let's use left join, which means we're going to append this table to this table. So actually this is going to be our left table. So left join, we're going to join the orders table. We can call this O. On what condition? On the condition that O.customer ID is equal to C.ID. So now we have a combined table that looks something like this. So as you can see, this is what conceptually our combined tables would look like. We have the customer table here on the left, and we have the order table here on the right. Since we joined them on the condition that C.ID is equal to O.customer ID, we're going to match the value in the C.ID column of each row with the value of the row in the customer ID column. So if you notice, Joe has an ID of 1. We're going to find basically a customer ID of 1 in our orders table and combine those two rows of values in the same table, in one combined table. So Joe ID of 1, customer ID of 1. So we combine these rows together just like that. Now for Henry and Max, we noticed that no row in the customer ID column has a value of 2 and 4. And so instead we put null and null because we utilized the left join. Had we used the inner join, then our table would just be 1 Joe 2 1 and 3 Sam 1 3. Finally, Sam has an ID of 3, and in the orders table there is a customer ID of 3, so we join them together just like that. So now with this combined table, what we need to return are the customers who have never ordered, which are Henry and Max, since their customer ID is null. And so what we're gonna do is we're going to finally filter out the final result by using a where function. And so what's left for us to do is write the appropriate condition, and that would be where o.customer ID is null. So when the values of customer ID are null, return the names of the customers with their respective customer ID being null. So let's submit our code and see if it works. Okay, so there we go. So that was the customers who never order problem on LeetCode. I hope you found that video helpful, and thanks for watching.